I want to talk about AI adoption today. So there's a pattern that I've been witnessing over the past year uh, that I think is worth exploring further. And it explains why a lot of AI investments are not producing the expected results. And the pattern looks a little something like this. Individuals are getting far better at AI. They've got good prompting techniques. They're using appropriate tools, MCP servers, AI skill set. They're using frontier models such as ChatGPT, Claude, and any of the other frontier models. But the overall team performance isn't growing as fast as expected. And the result has been over 42% of companies have canceled AI initiatives last year. So the reason comes down to how AI is being used and how the work is actually organized. So typically in an organization, AI arrives one person at a time. Each individual finds their own prompting style, determines what set of tools they prefer to work with, and figures out on their own how to fit AI into their daily workflow. So there's no question that that individual is now more capable than they were before, but the overall workflow and team collaboration was never designed with AI in mind. Instead, it evolves from individual preferences and skill sets. Things like handoffs, reviews, information sharing, none of that effectively factors in AI as a real contributor to the team. So each individual works faster, but your workflow is still constrained by the old way of thinking and the old way of doing things. And the reality is that individual gains do not compound into team gains. In other words, the AI is being added to people, but not woven into the fabric of how the team actually works. I like to use an orchestra as a metaphor to better explain this. You can think about every musician is given a better instrument. They have months of individual practice. They are generally better musicians than they were before. But you put them on the stage with no conductor, you get a lot of skilled individuals making a lot of noise. That's what's happening with AI. The instruments are better, the players are practicing, but no one is making the team's work look different than before AI. So the big question, of course, is what does it take to get team level returns from AI? And it's far harder than simply buying tools or sending people to training. And it comes down to three fundamental questions. The first is where does AI autonomy belong and not belong? Some things are better left to human. Critical judgment calls, sensitive customer interactions, or things that, if they go wrong, are disastrous to the business. Some things with AI just require close human supervision to examine the outputs and make sure they're in adherence with certain guardrails. And then there are increasingly things that AI can lead with full autonomy. The problem is that few teams have bothered to build this map and really understand it. And the result is AI ends up everywhere, anywhere, all at once. The second question is how do you scale the team's hard won knowledge into an AI environment? So AI tools do not know what your team has learned the hard way. Things from years of skin, knees, and elbows, customer escalations, near misses, all things that live in people's heads. Now, experienced people prompt around what they know and their experiences. New people and AI agents do not. And capturing this is hard work. There's no off the shelf solution. And that's why most teams have not done it yet. And the final question, which is probably the most complex in answer and has the largest impact on the organization, is how has the work itself been redesigned with AI in mind? So you can look at someone using AI well, and you can say they're doing the same job faster, or has the shape of the work they're doing actually changed? Most companies simply say they've gotten faster, but it's really the same job. The AI is just decorating an old workflow rather than driving a new one. And this is the deepest version of what I'm trying to describe here. It's the hardest to fix and requires rethinking what work actually is in an AI-driven environment. So not to overuse the metaphor, but the real mental shift has to be from musician to conductor. A conductor doesn't need to know how to play every instrument in the orchestra, but it does need to know how those instruments fit together, what the tempo of the music needs to be, and when to bring certain instruments forward. And in the AI world, almost no team has invested in this role as part of their AI strategy. Companies invest in AI training and tools, but not in rethinking how the team actually works and how things get done, with AI as a key driver and a contributor in the process. So if your AI investments are not moving the needle in the way you expected, you probably need to take a look at the workflow versus the individuals or the tools that your organization is deploying. You need to ask questions about, where is AI being fitted into the workflow? And has that work been redesigned with AI in mind? Because the reality is that individual capability have a real ceiling when the workflow does not change. Once the workflow is redesigned, individual capability starts to compound. And that is where team level return on AI actually lives.